Hello everyone, it's Angie here at Beads and Plenty More. Today I thought I'd show you how to do this cute little earring done on a bead frame. So a bead frame is just a frame that you can add beads into the center of. I happen to have a gold hexagon. These come in a variety of different shapes and so on. We also happen to have these in silver. And I'm gonna put these crystal beads in the middle. So I've got 26 gauge wire, and maybe what I'll do is I'll talk as I work here. And I will post a supply list at the very end of the video that you can screenshot if you need to be able to go and pick up some supplies to do this on your own. But what I'm doing is I'm actually wrapping my 26 gauge wire just in place to start off. And it's near impossible to get the tail to wrap in, so I'm just gonna leave that for now. I wrapped on the one side, and then I'm gonna come over and do a couple wraps on the next side. And I find that's a good secure way of starting off your work. So now I'm ready to add some beads in. One thing you can do is come in and squish down on those too, and it will hold that even more secure. I tend to pull a little bit as I wrap, and that will keep my wraps nice and tight to the frame. Oops, I don't know what was on the pliers there. So now I'm ready to add my beads. I'm just gonna start off with my dark blue. That's 8 beads there. These dark blue ones I believe are a 2mm. I do have a round one here at the end in my my yellow tone, and it may even be a small 4. So there's lots of different beads that will work for this. I happen to be using the crystal, but you could also use seed beads and a variety of different sizes too. Like, you don't have to stick with just one size. So you can see me wrapping here. One thing I'm doing is I'm not pulling from the tail end. I'm not trying to poke the tail end through and then pull everything. I'm actually just pulling the wire that's close to my wrap through first, and then pulling the tail through after. I find that if you try and poke from the tail end through, you're more likely to put a kink in the wire. So there we go. It's probably enough wraps to be able to, so that's about 5 wraps there. And we'll just put our next one on. We'll just get that on there. And I came from the underside, so I'm going to go to the overside on this side. Again, it's about getting the beads to center in the middle of the frame. So same deal, just wrapping, pulling a little bit as you wrap. So I cut 12 inches of 26 gauge wire. I can't remember if I told you that already. And it should be enough to finish this project. Okay, next color. Move my sample out of the way there. So we've done this up as an earring, but you could certainly use this as a component piece in a necklace if you were doing a necklace and you wanted to have something that debating. So that's just that little bit too big. I think I'm going to take one off and leave it one less. I think it'll look better. So we'll wrap again. So of course, if you're using a bigger bead, you might have to put an extra wrap in it because you have more space between your big beads. I'm thinking this is probably about right here. So we'll add on our last bead here. Oh, and these have holes that are hard to find. Sometimes if you're having trouble finding a hole, you just need to get the wire up against it and just run the wire down the side of it, and you'll hit the hole at some point. And there's our last row. So we're just going to wrap this to secure it off. So again, 3 or 4 wraps, because 1 wrap will hold it, but the 3 or 4 will keep it from moving around on the frame. See, it still moves quite freely there if I pull, and as I wrap more and more times, it'll start to sit in place and not move. Okay, I think I'm going to just do 1 more and then I'm going to end that off. There we go. So we'll just take and cut any remainder off. Squeeze down, and you have to be careful you don't catch your beads when you're doing this, because you can break a bead. But just secure everything down nice and tight. And then, so we're going to put a little drop off the bottom. So I've cut 6 inches of wire, which is more than I need here again. And I'm just going to come through the center of that center hole or top drilled bead. And I've got it in the center of my wire here. And we'll just twist it. So I'm just holding and twisting the bead. Once I've got that, if I take a pair of round nose pliers, I'm going to create basically a wrapped loop. So I'm going to leave a little bit of space here. That's where my pliers are right now. And I'm just going to come above it and create my wrap. So the reason I'm leaving space is because I want to put a couple wraps in that space. Now at this point, I've got a loop that I'm going to wrap this to secure the end, and I won't be able to hook my piece on afterwards. So I'm just going to hook this. And if I just hold with a pair of pliers here, just get a good grip on that somewhere. Just take and wrap my tail end until I'm happy with it, till it looks pretty. And we'll just trim off any extra. And I'm just going to come in and tuck my sharp end in. Not as critical on an earring because you're probably not going to catch it on things, but definitely if you're using this in a place where you might catch it on things, you definitely want to make sure it's tucked in. And then as far as putting the shepherd hook on here, I'm just going to take my pliers and I'm bending it off to the side. Just enough to be able to hook it in. And again, I'm going to bring it back. So I'm holding the spring up so I can see that it definitely closes. And if it doesn't close, I'm just going to wiggle it a little bit. So I'm just moving back and forth, up and down, basically the way I've got this held. And I'm going to wiggle in until I've got it nice and tight. So there's my pair of earrings. I hope you enjoyed that and you have a good day.